You're on your knees in the red dirt of the Texas Panhandle, and the ground just argued back. Your brush stops moving, half an inch of bone shows through the clay, and something about it is wrong. The skull is too wide across the forehead for a wolf, too flat for a bear. The jaw curves down and out like it was built to crush, not just bite. You keep brushing, the shape gets bigger, the shape gets stranger. For a second, kneeling there in the heat, you'd swear you were looking at a lion. You're not. You're looking at a dog, the biggest dog that ever lived. Paleontologists call it Epicyon haydeni. Roughly translated from the Greek, it means more than a dog. Fossils place it walking across North America as far back as 16 million years ago, and some individual specimens have been measured and confirmed at well over 300 pounds. That's heavier than most grizzly bears, built like a lion, a dog down to the bone. So here's the question that should be bothering you right now. If nature already built a dog that size once, where did it go? And why, in the entire modern world, is there nothing like it left? Think about what you actually know about big cats. Tigers, lions, jaguars. Some tigers have been recorded pushing past 600 pounds. They're apex predators on nearly every continent they touch, built massive, built terrifying, built to end a fight in seconds. Now think about wild dogs. Wolves are the biggest wild canines left on Earth, and a large one barely cracks 130 pounds, less than half the size of a big cat, less than a third in the extreme cases. Same order of mammals, same general toolkit: claws, teeth, muscle, instinct. It goes deeper than that, actually. Cats and dogs share a common ancestor, a small tree-climbing carnivore that lived somewhere around 40 million years ago. From that one animal, two branches split apart. Scientists call them feliforms and caniforms, the cat-like branch and the dog-like branch. 40 million years is an enormous stretch of time for two lineages to drift apart, to specialize, to become almost unrecognizable versions of that same original blueprint. So why did evolution let cats get enormous and stop dogs cold? Watch a big cat hunt and the answer starts to reveal itself. It creeps low through grass or shadow. It waits, sometimes for what feels like forever, until it's close enough to touch its prey before it moves at all. Then it explodes. One violent burst of speed and force that has to end things fast, alone, with no backup coming. Cats even keep their claws retracted between hunts, sheathed and razor-sharp, saved entirely for that one decisive moment. That kind of hunting rewards size. More mass means more force behind that single strike. A bigger cat simply wins more of those fights. Now watch a wolf pack move. There's no creeping, there's no single decisive strike, there's just pressure. Wolves pick a target and follow it, sometimes for miles, sometimes for hours, wearing their prey down instead of overpowering it in one moment. Their claws stay out, blunt and built for traction over distance, not for a killing grip. And a wolf never hunts as a lone weapon. It hunts as a fraction of a group. The group supplies the power, the individual doesn't have to. Which means extra body size isn't really an advantage for a wolf. It's a cost. More mass to haul across open ground, more energy burned to cover the same distance. Less endurance in an animal whose entire strategy depends on endurance. Marathon runners don't build like bodybuilders. There's a reason for that. It's the same reason wolves stayed lean while tigers bulked up. That explains why the wild dogs alive today are smaller than the wild cats alive today. It does not explain Epicyon. Because Epicyon wasn't lean and it wasn't built for the long chase. Researchers who have studied its skeleton describe short, powerful legs and a heavy, reinforced skull, an ambush build, not an endurance build. It belonged to a group scientists call the borophagians, the bone-crushing dogs, and for close to 15 million years they weren't some evolutionary footnote. They were apex predators among the largest carnivores in North America, full stop. But that's not the strange part. The strange part is what happened next. In 2015, a research team led by biologist Daniel Silvestro at the University of Gothenburg published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that pieced together what actually happened to animals like Epicyon. The team analyzed more than 2,000 fossils, tracking the rise and fall of dozens of ancient canine species across tens of millions of years. And the pattern they found wasn't climate. It wasn't a single catastrophe, a disease, a drought. It was cats. Around 18.5 million years ago, the first felines crossed into North America from Asia, likely over an ancient land bridge, stepping onto a continent that had belonged to the dog family for tens of millions of years. There was no single battle, no dramatic invasion, just a handful of unfamiliar predators quietly spreading into territory that had never had to share. At first, almost nothing changed. The bone-crushing dogs kept hunting, kept growing, kept dominating their territory the way they always had. But cats kept arriving, kept multiplying. kept getting better at the one thing that mattered most in that world, killing efficiently, without wasting energy, without wasting time. And slowly, over millions of years, something started giving way. According to Silvestro's findings, competition from cats is linked to the extinction of as many as 40 separate canid species across North America. Not overnight, not in one dramatic event, just a long, quiet erosion generation after generation, as cats out-hunted and out-competed their canine rivals for the same shrinking pool of prey. The last of the bone-crushing dogs, the direct descendants of animals like Epicyon, vanished a little over 2 million years ago. Here's the part that should really stop you. It wasn't the small, unspecialized dogs that disappeared fastest, it was the big ones. Research from UCLA paleobiologist Blair van Valkenburg, published in the journal Science, examined this exact pattern across 50 million years of North American predators, and found something almost backwards from what you'd expect. As carnivores evolved to be larger, they also tended to become more specialized, built around one narrow way of killing, one category of prey, one hyper-efficient set of teeth and jaws. That specialization looked like an advantage in the short term. Over the long term, it became a trap. Specialized predators struggled to adapt when prey populations shifted or new competitors arrived. The bigger and more specialized they got, the more fragile they became. Being big wasn't winning, it was a countdown, and once you see that pattern, you can't unsee it. It shows up again and again in the fossil record, this same quiet trap. An animal grows large to win today's fight, narrows itself to keep winning it, and loses the flexibility it would have needed for tomorrow's fight instead. There's direct physical evidence for how these giant dogs lived out that countdown, too. In 2018, paleontologist Zyrming Wang and colleagues at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County examined fossilized feces, millions of years old, left behind by Epicyon's close relative, Borophagus. Inside, they found crushed, undigested bone fragments from animals far larger than the dog that had eaten them, prey that could weigh well over 200 pounds. These weren't scavengers picking at leftovers. They were bone-crushing specialists, engineered to break open carcasses nothing else could touch. It's an incredible adaptation. In hindsight, it also looks like a warning sign. When your entire survival strategy depends on staying the biggest, hardest-biting animal in the room, you only get to win for as long as nobody smaller, faster, and hungrier shows up. Something did. It's worth pausing on one more detail here, because it changes how you look at your own living room. The oversized dog breeds you already know, the Mastiffs, the Great Danes, the Bernese Mountain Dogs, aren't evolution's answer to this question at all. They're ours. Every one of them was bred by human hands over a few thousand years, from smaller ancestors who never asked for the upgrade. Nature tried the giant dog experiment on its own terms, over millions of years, with an entire body plan built for it. And nature's version still lost. If you're looking for something like a big dog that evolution actually kept around, you'd have to go stand next to a grizzly bear instead. Bears share a closer branch of the family tree with dogs than dogs share with cats. In a strange way, they're the closest thing to a big dog still walking the planet, just wearing a different name. So the question you started with, why are there big cats but no big dogs, was never really a question about biology alone. It was a question about strategy, tested across millions of years in real time, with extinction as the only scorecard. Cats bet on solitary power. One animal, immense strength, an ambush that only has to work once. It's a strategy that scales beautifully with size, and it still does, right now, in every tiger and lion left on the planet. Dogs bet on the group. Shared effort, shared risk, shared reward, a strategy where the individual never had to become a weapon, because the pack already was won. It's the same bet you can still watch play out today, in wolves coordinating across a snowfield, in African wild dogs relaying hunts across the savannah in shifts so no single animal ever runs itself into the ground. And when a handful of dog lineages tried to abandon that bet and outmuscle the cats directly, betting everything on size the way Epicyon did, they didn't just fail to win. They went extinct. Somewhere in a museum drawer right now, that 300-pound skull is sitting catalogued, labeled, and silent. It looks like a predator built to still rule the world. Run your hand along that jaw, and you can still feel where the bone-crushing teeth sat, the ones built to shatter femurs other predators couldn't even open. It doesn't rule anything anymore, because for one long, brief slice of deep time, it tried to become something it was never built to stay. A dog wearing a cat's strategy, in a body a dog was never meant to carry, chasing a version of success that belonged to somebody else's family tree. And thousands of miles from that drawer right now, somewhere in open country, a wolf pack is running, 30 of them maybe, none of them alone, none of them enormous, none of them anything close to what Epicyon was. They don't need to be. They already won.